presents a new upcoming class. Stay tuned. Sacred Bonds by Daryl Abdullah Kirk. Yes, Sacred Bonds, navigating the depths of Muslim matrimony and the family. You don't want to miss this one. Please stay tuned. Streaming on all major platforms right here on Sunnahfollowers.net.
Wassalat, wassalamallah, wa rasulallah. I want to welcome everybody to our series on marriage and family in Islam. And again, this is based on a book that's written by one of my students, Brother Daryl Abdullah Kirk. And I want everybody to remember that this book can be purchased by going to Amazon. The name of the book is Sacred Bonds. Sacred Bonds. It should be a part of everyone's library, especially those of you who are thinking of getting married. And because this is a problem that we see as dire. People embark upon changes in their life that they don't know how to handle. You go into marriage not knowing what the conditions are of a valid contract. And by the way, next week we're going to talk in detail about the guardian, the role of the guardian, because so many Muslim women don't understand that you cannot get married without a guardian, period, dot. And a woman cannot be a guardian over another woman. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said in an authentic hadith, what's the source? Muwatta. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, any woman who allows another woman to contract her marriage for her is cursed. She has the curse of Allah, the angels, and all the creation on her. That's a powerful hadith. That's probably why a lot of your marriages, first of all, they're not valid because you had a woman handle it. Secondly, they don't last long anyway because you're cursed. We have to be very careful, guys. Before we embark upon something in this religion, we have to learn the rules, learn the conditions, learn the obligations of it. That's just common sense. At least you would think that that's common sense. But again, our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, we Muslims, this nation, we don't have the common sense that the Christians had. You know, we're emotional. We operate off of emotions, and that's it. How we feel rather than how to think. So next week, we're going to go, and for this class, we're going to go into detail about the role of the wali, the role of the guardian. Okay, we already talked about how, in fact, who can tell me what are the conditions of a valid marriage? Let's see if any of you can remember, because we covered that in this class. What are the conditions of a valid marriage in Islam? Let's see if any of you can remember. It's been a couple of weeks. Several weeks. Anyone?
You have to have a guardian first, and then you have to have 2 male witnesses, and you have to announce the marriage, and the woman has the right to a dowry.
Exactly. Those are the conditions of a valid marriage. If you don't meet those criteria, then guess what? That means your marriage is not valid. And by the way, I want to make this point clear because we are living in the days of fitan. And I'm addressing the Muslims here in America. You know, we have a new innovation, a sacrilege has emerged in America, where there are a team of men and women who call themselves scholars of the religion of Islam. They've come together and they think that they can change the laws of Allah, that the laws of Allah can be divided into layers and two categories of essentials that we have to abide by and non-essentials, which are laws that they say we don't have to abide by. And for the non-essentials, they have included family laws. They have included marriage. They have included divorce. What does that mean? That means that, and they are saying that even though Allah has set the conditions for a valid marriage contract, even though Allah has laid out the laws for marriage and divorce and raising children, even though Allah has defined the role of husbands, the roles of wives, they're saying that these laws made by Allah can be changed. They can be tweaked. They can be, played with because of society. This is a sacrilege. No one on this planet, it doesn't matter if you are living in the time of the 6th century or if you living in 50,005. The laws of Allah are for all time in this world. No one can tweak them. No one can doctor them. No one can change them. And I want to let everybody know, Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, never changed the laws of Allah. This is a lie against Umar. This is a terrible slander against him. And if Umar were living today, he would take the head of all that slandered him. Okay? So these laws and rules cannot be tweaked. They cannot be changed. I don't care what these so-called scholars of America are telling you, because I keep telling y'all, in reality, there ain't no scholars in America. Keep telling y'all that. Bunch of renegades. Okay? Because if you were a scholar in America, you wouldn't say nothing like that. Okay? These laws, these rules that we have been discussing in this class about marriage and family is for all time. The man is the provider. The man is the maintainer over the family. You cannot tweak that law and say, well, because of the society that we live in America, we're going to tweak this. We're going to say that a man doesn't have to be the provider. He doesn't have to be the maintainer. We can put women in this role. We can change the roles. We can blur the lines. Who told you that? That's not what Allah said. That ain't what the prophet said. That ain't what none of those 4 caliphs said. Or none of those original companions, or the ones that came after them and after them. This is some nonsensical garbage that you're making up because you've allowed the West to indoctrinate you. This is what happens when we live in a non-Islamic environment, guys, and we allow the ideology of that environment, of that society to infiltrate us to the point where we lose our Islamic identity. That's what happens. You succumb to being like them. Okay? The roles never change. We cannot reverse Allah's laws. I cannot go around telling you that women are the providers and maintainers over men, that this law is outdated. It doesn't apply to today. I can't say that. That's a lie. It does apply to today. It can't be tweaked. Nor can I say that it's not the woman's job to maintain her husband's home. That's what Allah said. It's your job to guard in your husband's absence what he would have you guard, even if your husband agrees to allow you to work. I want you sisters to understand the home is what Allah is going to ask you about. That's your job to make sure that the home is ran correctly, that the children have Islamic knowledge, that the children, grow up with their fitra awakened. That's going to fall on you, sisters, not the men, because it's their job to provide and maintain, not yours. That's the dangers that we come upon when we allow men and women to try to think that they have the power to change what Allah has said. Okay? So today what we're going to do is continue our discussion about the rights of children. We talked about the rights of the husband. What are the rights of the husband? Because remember, when I asked this question last week, all you sisters, y'all couldn't get it right. None of y'all could tell me what your husband's rights are. That shows how America has messed you up. I want to know, and I don't want Yasmin to give me the answer. I want to hear from the rest of y'all. Yasmin has to watch that Zoom room to make sure that hacking dude don't come in there. I want one of you other women. What are the rights of the husband over the wife?
He has the right to be obeyed in everything that Allah commanded us for him to be obeyed in. Number 2, he has the right to be satisfied in the bed on his call, not ours. Number 3, he has the right for you not to leave his house unless he give you permission to. And he has the right for you not to let nobody into his house unless he has given you permission to. And the last one is he has the right for you to guard in his absence. He has the right for you to guard in his absence, meaning the home, meaning pay the bills, meaning take care of the kids, meaning any appointments that need to be done. You need to handle all those things.
Exactly. As you can see, a wife is a full-time job that never ends. That's why Allah made the men providers and maintainers. Okay? Those are your husband's rights. I wonder how many of you sisters that are out there working are fulfilling the rights of your husband. I want to know whose obligation is it to cook and clean the house? Now, I don't want Mina to answer either. Whose role is it? Who is responsible for cooking and cleaning and washing the clothes? Because this is a big issue today. Can anybody tell me who's responsible for cooking, cleaning, and washing the clothes?
The woman, the wife.
Exactly, the wife is. These same so-called qualified scholars, when they're not, they have also changed the hadiths. They've taken the hadiths and twisted them out of proportion, and they're telling the women that it's not the woman's job to cook and clean and wash, that's the man's job. And they're using the hadith, whereas Qatada, may Allah be pleased with him, asked Aisha, may Allah be pleased with her, what did the Prophet do when he was at home? She said he would spend his time at home helping his wives, helping the family. He would help with the cooking. He would help with the cleaning. But did she say that he was obligated to do that? He did that because he wanted to. Because that's how he chose to show his love to his wives. She did not say in that hadith that was his job, his responsibility. But these same brothers who have developed this chart of essentials essential Sharia and non-Sharias. They have also included that we can change the laws of family and make it where the men have to cook, the men have to clean. That's a lie. That's your job as a woman. You don't sit up on your behind getting fat off of candy and soap operas and gossip and think your husband's supposed to go home and work and bring it home and cook it up and clean it up too. You are ridiculously deluded. Y'all got to stop listening to these famous speakers who are on a mission to reform Islam. Astaghfirullah. That's your job to cook. That's your job as a woman to clean. That's your job as a woman to wash clothes. So you can see, if we women were truly doing our job, you'd be too tired to even think about going outside the house to do anything. So that just goes to show we ain't doing our job at home. We ain't tired enough. If you ain't tired enough, that means that you falling short. Okay? And if you marry the right type of husband, if you let your guardian choose the right kind of man for you, your husband wouldn't even want you working. Because what man wants his wife to work? There are some women that work because they have to. And do you know their husbands hate that? Some women have to work because maybe their husbands became sick and their husbands are not healthy enough to go out and work. So the women have to work. And do you know the women are doing it for the sake of Allah? But their husbands, they don't like it. They say, if only I could go out and do my job. If only I could, my wife, I don't like her working. That's a real man. That's a real man. But she has no choice. She has to work because he can't do it anymore. Okay? But you other brothers, y'all don't care. Throw her out to the streets. Make your money for you. Make that money, baby. So I can sit up here on this internet and pretend to be a scholar and get some YouTube subscribers. That's the other kind of brother. Shame on them. So the laws of family, I don't care what these reformists say. I don't care how famous these Muslim reformists are. I don't care what groups these famous reformers sit on. They're liars. No one can change the laws of Allah. Period. Date. All right? Allah defines your role. Allah defined his role. And Allah also defined the role of the children and their rights. And that's what we talked about last week. This is where we're going to pick up today. Next week, we're going to go into the role of the guardian, because a lot of you sisters have a lot of valid complaints about these guardians not doing their job, especially the convert sisters. You have these imam of the communities, and they trying to get with you. They trying to marry you themselves with their sorry behinds. And we're going to talk about that next week. And I'm going to make that the topic of next week's Q&A too, because that's a big problem I'm hearing from my new Shahada sisters here in America and Canada. I got some Canadians in here too. Okay, but for today, let's finish. We're going to complete the rights of the children. And by the way, is Geechee here? And Fame, can you do me a favor so I don't forget? Write this down, that next week's Q&A is going to be about that. Women, the new shahadas being preyed upon by the imams. Instead of the imams being walis for them, they trying to marry them for themselves. Put that down. Geechee. Is Geechee here? Tell Geechee we need a theme song. You know, Majingo lady.
He's
Geechee.
not here.
I will text her.
Yes, let Geechee know we need a jingle for that, for the Islam, not this week's, but next week's Q&A. And yeah, I need a jingle because this is a big problem. I got the phone calls from the sisters in Canada. My Canadian sisters, assalamu alaikum. Yeah, you know, I'm pretty popular in Canada. I'm more popular in Canada than I am in the States. The Canadian Muslims, you know, they looking for somebody like Layla, the women are, to guide them. The American Muslim women are too busy tripping off of jealousy. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, my Canadian sisters have been reaching out to me, and I promised them, the sisters in Toronto. Oh yeah, and I got it. Aya. Yeah, Aya. Yeah, Aya's from this group in Toronto. She's Muslim, Arabic, and she told me to please address that. I am. Okay, so write that down, y'all, for me. I'm gonna do it and get Geechee to do a jingle. Okay, but let's finish up for this week. We're gonna finish up the rights of the children. I didn't know it was bad in Canada like it is here. All right, let's put the PowerPoint up on the screen. Okay, hold on. Oh yeah, my life is always, y'all see, but I have to stay busy. So they say, look, you so busy, I have to. If I don't stay busy, I will get in my mind, and my mind. I'm human like you sisters are. We women are very emotional. We women have issues. All of us. We got certain things going on in our, you know, life ain't nice to none of us. It's nothing but disappointment. So exactly, they're more down to earth. I think so too, Santisa. But one thing about it though, as long as I'm dealing with the dawah, I don't have to think about my personal situation. My personal situation is just as crazy as y'all's. Y'all know what we go through. But to get it, not think about it, to not let it get in my mind and stress me out, and I end up crying and freaking out and all that dumb stuff, I stay streaming and teaching Islam. Remembrance of Allah keeps the shaitan away. Remember that, sisters. Remembrance of Allah keeps shaitan away. And after I'm done teaching and doing videos, I write in my book. I ain't got no free time to get into my head, get upset over life. Okay, hold on. Here we go. Yeah. Sister Iman said the same for her too. Yeah, that's right. That's what we got to do. We got to keep it real. We women, we know what's up. Okay, so let's finish this chapter. And by the way, guys, please support us. Remember, we are an online Islamic university. We are a nonprofit organization. We are free of charge. We don't charge no money for anything that we teach here. We survive strictly off of donations. And it costs over $2,000 a month to run a website. Anybody will tell you that has a website like mine. Because we have to pay for the streaming, pay for the videos, pay for the pictures, the programs we use to make all this. $2,000, which is not really that much money considering how much a masjid and them have to have, you know. So please support us, because we only are able to do this from your donations. And look at all the blessings you'll be getting. This is the first of the month. We got $200 in our account right now. Alhamdulillah, thanks to your donations from yesterday and the day before. One of the streaming bills was paid. One of the streaming bills, the one that was $300, was paid. And also a couple of other programs we use were paid. But we got others that are going to be coming out next week. Please, we need the money, money, money. Oh, God, yes, we do. And it's stressing me out. But anyway, let's get to the class. All right. Hold on, let me move this so we can see. Today, we're going to this. And by the way, this is the book. For those of you who are new, this is the book. It's entitled Sacred Bonds, Navigating the Depths of Muslim Matrimony and the Family. This is written by Brother Abdullah Kirk. He's one of my students. and I'm very proud of him. Please go to Amazon. The book is only $13. Yeah, that's cheap. It's only $13. Buy the book there. He still has some available. I think so. I think he refreshed it. It was selling out, but I think he added more. Because it was selling out. He added more, so you should be able to get the book, and it'll take just 3 days for Amazon to ship it to you. So please get the book. That's it, The Sacred Bonds. And tonight we're going to be covering pages 65 through, in fact, we're completing that whole chapter. I put 65 through 68. But this will complete the entire chapter on the rights of children in Islam. And before we get into, what's wrong with my mouse? I think my mouse needs a battery. It's sticking. Until we get into today's lecture, let's start it off with a quiz. Just one question. This is what we talked about last week, the last time we met. Who can tell me? What are the rights that our children have over us? We went over these rights last week. This is the only question for today. What are the rights that the children have over us? Who can tell me the children's rights?
One is to give them the proper name.
To give them a proper name, a good name, a good name. To give them a good name. Good job. What's another right?
They also have the right to be educated in the religion and also worldly things that will benefit them.
Exactly. The right to be educated. That's what I'm saying. That's number one. Teach them this religion. And also educate them about give them secular education too. Let them know about the world, the problems, what's going on, and how to navigate themselves in this non-Islamic environment. What else? What are some more rights they have?
They have the right. They have the right to be taken care of.
Exactly. Big one. It's your job as parents to provide and maintain them, to give them clothing, give them food. What else?
They also have the right to be born by a righteous mother and a righteous father.
Exactly. And good job, Sister Sahra, too. The right to righteous parents. That's the first thing. That's why we have to take marriage more seriously. You don't just lay down and marry anyone. You marry a righteous woman. A righteous woman is a woman that believes La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah, knows her role as a woman, know her role as a wife, a mother, knows what her roles are, her obligations are to Allah, her obligations to her family, her obligations to herself. And the same for a man. You want to find a husband that can, if he can't provide for you, how the heck he gonna provide for your children? Why would you marry a man that can't take care of you? That means if you got pregnant, what he gonna do? 9 times out of 10, he gonna bounce. He's gonna leave you. You know, you women got to think. You marry righteous, God-fearing men. Not these losers who look like El DeBarge. I know I fell for the El DeBarge pretty boy back in the day too, but he took care of me. I was a trophy wife, but he had other issues. Okay? Everything that glitters ain't gold. Understand that, sisters? Everything that glitters is not gold. You better look beneath the surface. What's another right? As Santisa said, to be protected. Exactly. And how do we protect our children, guys? How do we protect them? Good job, Santisa. How do we protect our children? Santisa protects her son. How do we protect our children?
You protect them by living in an environment that's safe for them.
Exactly.
Something that's not no one shooting and all of those stuff.
Exactly. You put your children in a safe environment. Why would you have your children in the projects, people? Why would you raise your children in an area where people are selling drugs, where people are having sex out of wedlock? I mean, they doing that everywhere, but it's not obvious. You want to put them in a suburb, a place, an area where at least the people do believe in marriage and try to, raise their children, free from drugs and all that. That's your job, to protect them. What other rights do they have?
Children have the right to be treated equally with their sibling. If you're going to give one gift to one sibling, you have to give the other one the same.
That's a big problem. How many of you sisters favor your knucklehead sons over your daughters? I went through that. My brother could do things that I couldn't do. He can go outside and play, but why come I got to stay in the house? He can go visit his friends, but why come I can't have no friends? You can't be unjust with your children like that. He can take a break and go have fun, but I got to still stay here reading these hadith books. Every child has the right to be treated justly. You don't favor one over the other, be more oppressive to one over the other. And this is a problem even today. Most of us can tell you stories about how other kids were favored over us in our families. We all got a story to tell. What else? Another right that children have? Any other ones?
The right to be raised with good manners and behaviors as well.
Both of y'all. Good job, Edward, and good job, Yasmin. The right to be taught manners and character and morality. Y'all see why your wives need to be at home educating them children, homeschooling those children. That takes a work. Women don't want to homeschool. They want to send their kids to school so they can get a break. And then you wonder why your sons are selling drugs and your daughter's coming home complaining about a stomach ache and they having a baby upstairs. Okay? So our children got rights over us. If we were fulfilling the rights that them kids have, then the women wouldn't, everybody would do their job. The men would do their jobs and provide and maintain. The women would do their jobs and culture and run that house. But no, the lines have become blurred because we got this feminist movement going on here that the Muslims have joined and are taking parts in. They're putting out fatwas, changing the rules of the mosque, putting women on executive boards of the mosque. Oh yeah, let me answer that question. The Prophet Muhammad, did he have any women on his board? Did Umar have women on his board? Did Abu Bakr have women on his board? Did Uthman? Did Ali? No! Aisha was an advisor to Umar, but she was not on his board. Umar said, any questions about women and family issues, go to Aisha. And whenever Umar, may Allah be pleased with him, and Abu Bakr had questions about family and fiqh, they would go to Aisha and to Hafsa too, but they were not part of their council. Salama was a scholar of fiqh too. They would go and ask Salama questions, but she was not part of their council. A woman has her place. Our place is at home. We're educated. We're consulted. But I'm not a part of your board. I'm sorry. I got some imams here. There are some imams here whose masjids come to my classes. I might get a call from an imam. An imam in New York might call me and ask my advice. I might get a call from an imam in Michigan who will ask my advice. I may even get a call from brothers over in the Emirates who will ask my advice. But I am not a part of their executive board because my space is right here. My place is right here at home. You know, we have to learn our roles. But see, why do we have women on executive boards now? Because of the feminism. Oh, women have to be included. Oh, we have to include women. Who said that? Did Allah say include them? What did Allah say about a woman being included? Huh? Let's talk about it, Mr. Shakes. You so-called scholars. What did Allah say about including women on your boards? What did the Prophet say about putting women in charge? He said, all you're going to have is chaos. You're never going to excel. It's going to be chaos. Women can't take on authority like that because we're too emotional. We're too jealous. We're women. We're different. Consult with me about something that's my specialty. Yeah, you can call me up and ask me, Layla, you know this hadith about Juraj? Oh, yeah. Can you explain it to me? Oh, yeah, I'll explain it to you. Okay, what does it mean? Blah, blah, blah. Where can I find it? Oh, Sahih Bukhari. But if you put me on your board and have me making decisions for the community, man, Layla ain't doing that because I'm going to give you my emotional view. I don't like that sister. I just don't like her. I don't like that brother. His wife rolled her eyes at me. That's how we women are. We're petty like that. We're petty like that. I don't like that brother. He didn't give me slimes. I don't like that brother. He looks at me kind of funny. That's how women are. But look at the mosques across America. All of you got women all over your boards. And that's why your communities all suck. Why is it that the massages in America suck? Look at your boards. You got women on them. Allah speaks the truth, not man. So we need to learn our roles as women, our roles as men. You know, yes, you can have women as counselors. You know, that women are good at that. You know, nothing wrong with you having a woman do the counseling for the children. Oh, yeah, we're good at talking. Women can talk all night. Look at Layla. Okay? You can have the women advise other women like the Prophet did with Aisha. Aisha would advise the other women, but she wasn't on his board. Oh, no, he had Abu Bakr, Umar, and etc. Not Aisha. He would ask her, he would go home and ask her opinion about this. He'd ask Salama. Salama was one of his war advisors. Her and Khalid. Khalid was her cousin. By the way, Khalid bin Walid was Salama's first cousin. Both of them were trained in war. The Prophet would meet with them two together. Just them two together. They would be in his tent on the battlefield. But was she a part of the outward board? No. No. We got it twisted in 2024, soon to be 25. And that's why the masajids are put a woman in charge, put the women in it, it's going to go. Men are influenced by the women. All a woman got to do is sit on that board, bat her eyes at the imam 1 or 2 times. She'll get what the heck she wants. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Oh, yeah. You know how many wars were started because of women batting their eyes at Napoleon, at Alexander the Great? He had men batting eyes at him too. At Caesar, Mark Antony, put me on your board. I want this to happen. All I got to do is look at a brother and go, and that's it. Yeah, we're going to do what she said. Allah makes his laws and rules for a reason, guys. We need to abide by them. Until we do, we're going to keep going down, down, down like we are. And who is that on the mic? Who is that, guys? Y'all got it?
Yeah, it was just the song.
Okay. All right. So let's get started. And anybody that's got a problem with what I'm saying, it ain't my problem. Take it up with Allah. You can go to the prayer rug. Allah made the laws. Allah said a woman can never be a ruler over a man. The Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, what's the source? Sahih Bukhari, when he heard that the Persians were stupid enough to appoint a woman as their ruler, he said, any nation, any people that appoints a woman as its head or its ruler will meet nothing but failure. So don't get an attitude with me. I didn't make the laws. Allah did. It's just that I submit. A lot of y'all don't submit to Allah. That ain't my problem. I submit to him. I know my worth as a woman, and I'm an educated woman. I know my role, my job, and I do it well. But I know that I'm not a man. I know I ain't a man, and I don't want to be. Let the men rule the world. Who rules the world? It's supposed to be men, not women. Okay? So you don't like it? Go to the prayer rug and argue with Allah. And by the way, that's what Aisha would tell them too. Aisha would tell the Roman women the same thing. They didn't like it. She said, you don't like it. You don't like what Allah say, then go argue it with him. Okay? All right. So the children have rights over us. Unfortunately, in this day and age, most children's rights are not being met. This is why we have a high apostasy rate, not just in America. This apostasy rate is all over the world. Even in the Arabic countries, they ain't practicing because the women are working in those countries too, unfortunately. Okay? It's all about the fulus, the money. The Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam said this nation will succumb to the dunya and what's in it. And that's what's already happening. So now we're going to talk about, can y'all see? Discipline. Discipline. How does Islam teach us to discipline our children? We talked about disciplining the parents. Okay? Well, now we're going to talk about what Allah has to say about disciplining children. How many of you have encountered a situation where you go into a masjid and you find yourself surrounded by a group of bad kids? Oh my God, that's why I don't go to the mosque no more. You can't even hear the khutbah if you a woman. You go to the women's section, you can't hear the khutbah because the children are running through the mosque, they running all over you, they coughing, they sneezing, they crying. What's the point? Stay at home, listen to it on the internet, plus you get more blessings at home. I keep telling you, sisters, Allah says in the Quran, your homes are better for you. I don't care what these crazy reformist imams in America are telling you. They can't change that law. Allah is clear. Your homes are better for you. The Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was clear. What's the source? Sahih Bukhari and Muslim. He said a woman gets more blessings practicing her religion in her home than even in the mosque with me. Y'all understand that? You can't change that. That's it. You go to the mosque, you ain't gonna get no benefit. You can't hear what's going on because of them bad kids. Okay? And then the kids have no respect. If you try to make them sit down, they'll hit you or yell at you or go tell their mama, and their mama want to fight you. Oh yeah, how many fights? How many people got into fights at the mosque? Oh, it happens here. Y'all know I'm telling the truth. Stories of women fighting in a mosque about they cheering. This happens. And how many of us have witnessed children disrespecting their parents by talking back to their parents, telling their parents to shut up, telling their parents, I hate you, telling their parents all type of bad things and threatening them. This is a problem. This is a problem, especially here in America, because America has set up laws. America has set up rules, whereas if you try to discipline your children, where if you yell at your kids, you're going to jail. Oh, yeah. Well, let's see what a law has to say about this. We have to understand that everything begins at home. The Prophet Muhammad, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, said even charity begins at home. How many of us as parents have been charitable to our children? What do I mean by that? How many of us show charity to our children by teaching them etiquette, teaching them Islamic morality, teaching them Islamic manners from the time they come out of our womb all the way up until they become adult? When your children yell, your children scream or try to hit you back, that happens. All babies do that. How many of us will take the baby's hand and say, no, 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 mommy, no, hit mommy? How many of us have done that when they were young? How many of us showed charity to our children by not teaching them to yell? When they yell and say, nah, 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 we say, no, 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 touch their lip. No, 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 mommy love you. Mommy soft. How many of us do that? We don't. A lot of us got the kids at the babysitter. We got our kids in daycare. Do you think daycare is telling your baby, no, no, no? Daycare probably slapping your baby. Oh, yeah. Y'all seen the videos all over YouTube about what happens in these daycares here in America. They yelling at your kids and cursing at them. That's why you sisters need to be at home raising your own children. Daycare is dangerous. Your children come out, they come into the world at the age of 2, they start picking up bad habits from the daycare center. So it falls on the parents. The reason why those children are running through the mosque, they have no respect for anything, they're unruly, they're bad, it's the parents' fault because the parents failed the child. You failed your children by giving them to someone else to raise. I want you guys to understand, Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, oh, you who believe, save yourselves and your families from the hellfire, whose fuel is men and stones, over which are appointed angels who are severe, who do not disobey the commands of Allah. It's our job to teach our children good manners, good etiquette, good morale. But we're too busy out there living in the dunya, striving to make the money or just hanging out in the dunya and leaving our children with babysitters, leaving our children with kafir daycares and the like. So we fail our children. Okay? Listen to what Imam Tabari said about that verse of the Quran. He said, Allah commands believers to educate each other in ways that prevent them from going to the hellfire through obedience to Allah, and your families to save them from the hellfire. This means guarding your family away from those actions of disobedience and protecting them from the actions that can lead to the hellfire. Are we doing that as parents? Especially us women. That falls on the women here, not the men. The men do it too, but they are supposed to be out working 2-3 jobs. Who works the job? It takes 2 incomes to make it in America. We all know that. It takes 2 incomes. So what does that mean? Your husband should have go get 2 jobs. He should go work 2 jobs and DoorDash on the side. Hello. It's your job to be at home teaching these children manners, respect, and all of that. Listen to what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said. He said, teach your children to pray and teach your children to fast when they're 7 years old. How many of you Muslim women have your daughters wearing hijab at 7? Most of y'all let your daughters go around dressed like kafirs until they puberty. It's too late then. You should be teaching your children how to fulfill the obligations to Allah at the age of 7. Before the age of 7, you should be teaching them the morals of Islam, the values of Islam. No, no, no. Don't yell. No, no, no. Don't spit. No, no, no. Don't throw temper. All of that should be taught all the way up until 7. Then when they get 7, it's about how to pray, how to fast. It's about aqidah, what it means to believe in Allah. How you should be wearing hijab. When you go out the house, you're going to be dressed just like Umi. Look at this beautiful abaya I have. Where is it from? This is from Somali. Oh, this is from Burundi. This is from Tanzania. This is from Ghana. You know, put this on. And here's a beautiful hijab. Your daughters should be covering up hijab and abaya at the age of 7. Not puberty. And here's the dalil. The Prophet said, teach them to fulfill their obligations at the age of 7. Make them do their obligations at the age of 10. And what did he mean when he said make them? When he said make them do their obligations at 10, he said he meant discipline them if they don't. Whoop their behind if they ain't wearing a hijab when they 10. Whoop their behind if they ain't praying at the age of 10. Does everybody understand that? Remember, the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam said, each and every one of you is a shepherd, and each of you is responsible for your flock. The flock of the woman is the children. That falls on you, sisters, to teach your children morals, values, and what their obligations are to Allah, what their obligations are to you and your husband, and their obligations to themselves and others. That falls on you, sisters. But you ain't doing it. You got them at the babysitter. Okay? And all of these hadiths I'm quoting can be found in Bukhari and Muslim. They're all authentic. All right? So, in terms of discipline, it's essential from a young age to install in the children love for Allah, love for his prophet. Let me tell y'all what the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam used to do. When I did the story of the wives of the Prophet and the female heroines of Islam, remember, I taught you guys the women and the children would all gather at Sauda's house. Sauda loved the children. All the children would gather at Sauda's house. Sauda would make toys for them, you know, and all of that. The women all loved Sauda because Sauda was neutral. She didn't get into the petty fights with the other wives. You know, she just had one of those lovable personalities. The other wives used to tease Sauda, you know, play jokes on her and stuff. And she just had a happy-go-lucky personality. All right? If a child would lie about something, let's say, for example, a piece of candy, a date became missing. Sauda would ask who took the dates? And they knew that kid did. You know, Zainab took it. Okay, Zainab took that date, but you know, they would try to get Zainab or whoever it was, Anas, whoever it was, to admit it. The child wouldn't admit it. So they would tell the Prophet, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when the Prophet would leave the mosque every day after Isha, every day, I repeat, after Isha, the Prophet would make rounds visiting every one of his wives. That's that hadith in Bukhari. He didn't make rounds and have relations with them. No, like some people say, that's not true. The Prophet never had relations with a wife unless it was her night. He would leave the mosque after Isha, as Aisha said, and then he would make rounds and visit every wife to check on them, to see if they needed anything. And that's when they would let them know. For example, Zainab took a date, and we know she took the date and ate it, but she won't admit it. So the Prophet told his wives, if ever a child lies, the way we're going to handle it is we're going to ignore him. I don't want none of you, none of the wives, none of the other children. We're not going to speak to that child until that child confesses that child took the date or did what was wrong. Because the Prophet knew no child likes to be ignored. So even at the young age of 4 or 5 years old, if a child lied in the Prophet's family, everybody would ignore him or ignore her. And soon the child would confess, yes, I did it. I didn't mean to, but I did it. That's how the Prophet started disciplining his kids at a young age. Again, discipline, we started immediately. If the child is 2 years old, I'm not going to talk to you unless you stop that yelling. You're throwing a temper tantrum. Everybody ignore her. Everybody ignore her. That's how the Prophet and his family would handle children at the young age. If the child did something wrong, they would ignore the child. And the child would stop it because no child likes to be ignored. That's the type of discipline we can do. They can't call 911 on you that time. That's not beating them up. Also, the Prophet encouraged everyone to have a belt or a stick on display in the house. He would take a stick, put it on the wall. He would tell his wives, put a stick on the wall, just so as a reminder, so the kids can see. Because when we see a tool of discipline, it reminds us to not transgress. So it's a psychological discipline. But we start doing this when the child is 2. You don't wait till the child is 10 years old. Now you're going to ignore him. It's too late. You don't let him get away with it all this time. You don't tell him, look up there. You see that stick? When he's 10, he's going to say, yeah, what about it? It's too late. You should have been pointing that stick out to him when he was 2. This is how Islam teaches us to discipline our children, because the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was always about kindness to the kids. In fact, there's another hadith. What's the source? Sahih Muslim. The Prophet said, if you do have to hit a child, don't ever hit that child more than 3 times. So if I have to spank my child, that's enough. No more. No more. For the little kids, that's it. 3 times. Then there's another hadith that says when the child was older, meaning like teens, 12 or older, the Prophet would say, don't ever hit your kids more than 10 times. But there are some scholars that question that hadith. But the hadith about 3 times is authentic. That's it. So that way you're not transgressing the limits. That's not abused. a tap 3 times. Again, Allah tells us, and the interpretation, the meaning, oh, you who believe, save yourselves and your families from the hellfire. Now, today, the Kafirs use time out. We're Muslims. The Prophet Muhammad didn't do time out. He did ignore. Ignore. Now, maybe that's the problem. Too many of you have been using the Kafir tactics. Y'all been using Kafir tactics to discipline your children. Time out is nothing. Ignoring is a lot. No child likes to be ignored. Even adults, none of us adults like to be ignored. So maybe if we follow the advice of the Prophet Muhammad, we can gain better control when it comes to discipline our children. And that doesn't lead to 911. I'm going to start teaching you at the age of 2 what good morals are. If you're going to misbehave, you're going to lie, do bad things, throw a tangent, we're going to turn away and ignore you. No one's going to talk to you. No one's going to talk to you until you stop. And then if the child continues and you have to spank them, that's it, 3 times. And always remind them of that stick that's hanging on the wall. Try it, guys. Try it, guys. It works. Okay? So, again, physical discipline is only advised as a last resort, just like with the women. We don't put our hands on our children to hit them except as a last resort. The Prophet taught to admonish them verbally. If that doesn't work, then to ignore them. If ignoring doesn't work, then that's when you tap them lightly and no more than 3 times. And never hit a child or an animal even in its face. I see a lot of parents slap their children in the face. This is a sin. The Prophet ﷺ said, anyone who slaps anything, any of Allah's creatures in the face is cursed by Allah. Okay? The home should be a place of guidance. The home should be a place of safety. The home should be a place of comfort for us as Muslims. But a lot of the homes are not that way because we're too busy working. We're too busy working, trying to make money. And then we come home tired and we yell and scream at each other. How many husbands and wives yell and scream at each other, and then they yell and scream at the kids too? We have to stop that. The Prophet would joke and play with his children. Okay? He would make them feel comfortable. Sauda, she made all the kids feel comfortable. She treated them all nicely. She made toys and had sweets for all the kids, unless they acted up. When they acted up, she'd say, okay, everybody ignore Anas. Everybody, nobody speaks to Anas. That's how they handled it. All right, I'm going to stop right here. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Are there any